The first panel of today will be about the transformation in fintechs and corporates in the Nordics. And to head and introduce that panel, we have a very skillful an insightful person from the Nordics, Susanna Hannested. She's the CIO of Fintech Mundi. Earlier, she's been many years in Nordea and probably one of the persons with the largest insight in what's going on in the Nordic fintech scene. So welcome, Susanna. I will make you introduce the rest of the panel, and you take it from here.
Just one second, sorry. I'm being told that Ornit has a bit of trouble logging on. Ornit Shinar from City Ventures. Just a heads up for all you listeners out there who may be eager to see her. But she will be on very shortly. And with that, Susanne, take it away.
Thank you very much, Simon, and the Copenhagen FinTech Hub. What a fabulous thing this is. Just starting with the Nordics, read the Financial Times today. Klarna is now valued $10 billion. So they have been ramping up and doubled their valuation over the years. So that's a good introductions to the fintechs coming from the Nordic. What we have here in the panel is Mathias Wikström from The Economy. We have Espen Topdal Nielsen from Penny. We have Hassan Malik from Cloud Asset P3. And we will soon have Ornit Shinar from Citi. Mathias Wikström, he's the CEO of The Economy, working very closely with MasterCard, and they provide digital services for everyday climate actions that turn your spending into a financial power and sustainable future. Espen, co-founder and chief commercial officer at Penny, and Penny, they provides a white label distribution platform that helps the insurers, brokers, distribution partners to establish online sales for the insurance. Good to know. P3, they enables banks, telcos, governments, and payment service providers to create a national scale digital payment ecosystem. Ornit, she is head of the external innovation and venture investor. So sitting in the Israel Citigroup, and they are a global bank and institution that connecting millions of people and hundreds of countries. So starting up with the first question, Espen, I will start with you today from Copenhagen. And how have you seen the business develop since the pandemic started?
Yeah, actually, surprisingly, we've come really good out of this. I think everyone that maybe was asked the same question 4 months ago would have had a lot of concerns around this, obviously. But for us, so we're in the insurance space, in insurtech, and I think for those that are in financial services probably know that banking and private banking in particular is in front of insurance when it comes to kind of distribution, digitalization, and stuff like that. But we've really seen insurance as an industry being propelled towards digital, and that has definitely helped us. That has helped us. It's also come with challenges, obviously, but so far we've been able to kind of transform a lot of our capabilities and offerings and the way we work with our clients to this new climate in working virtually, locally. So quite good. I think one of the challenges we've seen, and I'm keen to hear the others, is the ability to establish new relations. So an event like this obviously is extremely good and extremely important, I think, for fintech as such, because it is difficult. Everyone here work with big enterprises, and we work with enterprise software where it's really important to have close relations, and typically we work very closely with our clients. And even though we're able to do that in a corona situation, I'm looking forward to be able to engage more physically with people again, definitely.
I think quite a lot of people will like to be more physical, but still this is a lot of opportunities. And as you mentioned, that going across border is a good win, and then you can get both probably talents and of course, in particular, new customers. Matthias, you're working closely with the MasterCard and looking after the climate, so we're not overspent in these days. How are you seeing the pandemic helping you to evolve digitally?
Well, thank you, Susanne. Thank you for having us to begin with. I think what we do has really been put a light on during this global crisis. The challenges we are facing is the result of lifestyle behavior that we aim to assist in resolving. Climate challenges being obvious and the lack of digital tools not enough. So we've seen an increase in interest, definitely. I would say that initially, early March, complete freeze and complete lockdown. The phones were silent and people were wondering, where is it going to lead? It's the end of the world. And but we came out of that quite rapidly, as many of our potential partners and clients had two things coming their way. One thing was the understanding of, a healthy person connects to a healthy society connects to a healthy planet. So relevance was high. And incremental efficiency was also high because of the lack of travel and the need for digital interaction rather than physical. So here, I do definitely share Espen's perspective on the increase of efficiency. In our books, there has also been an increase in relevance, and for that we are grateful. But in a global crisis, I think one should be very cautious, as there is a lot of individual tragedies in the midst of this. We're very fortunate with our team not being hit, and we have done whatever we can to protect our team and take care of those needed our help.
Thank you, Matthias. Hassan, you are based in Helsinki, and you have a business in Southeast Asia and doing very well with your products over there. How has the situation been for you to continue having this cross-border type of businesses and develop your company?
Thanks, Susanne. It's been quite a surreal, interesting experience, I have to say. There are many good things that have come out of this, and there are also things where we need to learn very quickly and adapt super fast. I remember on the 7th of March, I landed from Helsinki to Bangkok. And when I came out in the airport, it wasn't the usual super busy sort of airport that I've come to know over the past 10 years. And all of the staff, every person from sort of the crew, everyone had sort of these face masks on, and it was quite strange. It was like walking into a hospital all of a sudden in a sort of a high intensity medical environment. And the Thais understand this because they've had the previous rounds of SARS outbreaks and so forth, H1N1 and so forth. So when COVID-19 kicked off, they immediately went into sort of emergency sort of procedures and clamping down on all sorts of stuff. And I took a flight then from Bangkok to get to Karachi, to our office in Karachi, and at that stage, it hadn't really dawned on the public in Pakistan. It's 220 million people. That this thing is big, because SARS never really happened here. Previous to that, there was MERS, the Middle East respiratory syndrome in Saudi, so they had a little outbreak. But this part of the world, like the greater Middle East, doesn't really understand this issue. It's more sort of Southeast Asia oriented from our perspective. And all of a sudden, Thailand went into lockdown, and from the 7th of March, I've not been able go to Bangkok because now they have a 14-day state quarantine. You land, you've got a lockdown in a certified quarantine facility for 14 days. You can't go out. I can't afford to do that, to be honest. So I had to adapt where I'm so used to working with the team in Southeast Asia face-to-face. I'm there once a month. And we had to move everything digital online. And that sort of was, it was possible because all the tools are there, but, you can never really replace the sort of the physical, the physical aspect of business, basically, of work. So that execution aspect, we had to adopt new ways and adapt quite a bit. But in terms of, the obvious upsides in this period, we signed, 2 major opportunities. We're already in delivery phase. We are helping the customers recreate because all of a sudden they've realized the absolute importance of not just digitalization inside of the organization, but all of the connectivity in and out of the organization, which is where a lot of the work that P3 does in interaction management, transaction management comes into play. And then one of our very major opportunities that I've been chasing for about a year, the sort of the board level also, given the pandemic, made final decisions very quickly. And we now go into final contracts and so forth. So it's definitely created opportunities. I won't say that we find it difficult to interact with customers. If at all, it's made it easier because the expectation from the customer is no longer that, Hassan, you need to take a flight and spend a week with me. I can just jump on a call. I put on a short. You have no idea that I'm wearing shorts.
No, thank you very much, Hassan, for that.
Here we go.
Thank you, Hassan. A lot of the e-commerce has had quite a lot of steep curve, and financial services and banking is keeping up. So the industry per se is not affected that much. Of course, the digitalization has increased. For the InsurTech side, Espen, how do you see the insurance companies how they are evolving and utilizing your products and so forth? But a little bit on the insurance market in particular.
Well, since the industry is traditionally such an analog industry, I think it was really hit dramatically because no one of the tied agents couldn't go and visit individuals anymore. So they really experienced the need to transform their business. I think they've managed remarkably well, and all of the insurance companies that we've been in dialogue with and our existing clients, they've been really open for us to kind of help them transition. So in that sense, it's been a major opportunity just because they saw the need very vividly to actually transform their business to a more digital, in particular on the distribution side. Obviously, I think insurance companies have been really well in transforming their business on the customer service side and on the claim side, whereas on the distribution side it has been a more analog business and still is. So that has really that's really moving. And again, they're really, working with us to make that innovation happen.
Yeah.
Welcome on it.
Fantastic, Espen. Welcome on it. So happy to have you. Coming all the way from, or sitting in Tel Aviv and Israel. So we had introductions of all of us, and being the head of investment in Israel for the City Group, how have you seen the evolution of the business? Have you gotten any new investments during this period? Have you topped up some of the other portfolio groups? So please tell us.
So I think I've had a very interesting position insofar as I've been able to see how it affects City on the one hand in many different countries, and I've been getting updates on a per country basis on who's doing what and how we're reacting to it. And on the other hand, I've also been able to see how it's affecting our startups, our portfolio companies in the accelerator. So if I look first of all at the City perspective, so each country reacted at a different pace, at a different rate, based on what was happening in those geographies. Some did better in the beginning, worse later. Some did, were slower to react, and then things were faster. And I think the interesting thing is that Citi had a very good attitude, I would say, to it. So the first thing that we got were messages from management saying, first of all, take care of yourselves. We're here for you. Don't worry about your jobs, about your jobs in the sense of the salaries, right? So yes, worry about the work that needs to be done, but but we want you to feel comfortable that what you're doing is, first of all, take care of our clients and yourselves, and then we'll figure the rest out. And that made everyone feel very comfortable. And I think Citi won a lot of points amongst its employees for being an employer of choice in really being supportive for everyone. And from the other perspective, from a technology point of view, we had many challenges. So people like me that work remotely anyway, it didn't matter so much. But for an organization of more than 200,000 people to overnight become 100% remote is not a small feat. And so our IT teams, I think, were really working day in, day out, nonstop to try and contend with that, and did a phenomenal job. And I think if we look at it from an innovation point of view, everything that was related to being able to contend with the current situation was fast-tracked. We got to onboard things faster, better than ever before. But on the other hand, startups that were doing things that were nice to have got put aside, right? Because they were not the biggest priority at that point. So I think there were winners and losers from that point of view in the interaction with Citi. From the startups' point of view, it's also not been black and white. So we've had some startups that have been, major winners with tons of business going their way. There are startups in cybersecurity, in remote connections, in authentication, things like that have done very, very well. If we look at companies that are doing things in T&E, travel and entertainment, then their situation is not that great these days. Let's be honest. So it's been a bit of both. And from my point of view, what I did in the first 2 months, I would say, is talk to each and every one of our portfolio companies. Anyone, definitely the ones we're invested in, but even all the others. Anyone who wanted to talk to us to get our thoughts on the situation and what we were advising. We were working around the clock on that. We did a lot of follow-on investments in our existing portfolio companies to help them get through the current situation and be supportive to them. And we did new investments as well, because in the end, the market was not a bad market for investors. There were opportunities that were completely available, and we were on track to do new, interesting deals that would help Citi get involved.
Yeah, thank you for that broad introduction. And then, Matthias, you're working with MasterCard and several. How have you raised any money during this period in EFF? With who? And are there any other things that you would like to say around the funding side in these times?
Yes, firstly, I couldn't agree more than with Ornit around what I would sum up as compassion. The initial reaction is to be compassion. Take care of your loved ones. Take care of your team. Take care of your company. Look for funding. Secure operations. Secure your partners' operations and contribute in that. And I think, out of a funding perspective, I also we are part of MasterCard's Start Path, and they has published a report on the COVID-19's impact on this ecosystem that we're part of. And I think there's a few interesting points there, and it's basically corresponds with fundamental financial analysis. Follow the money. What do people invest in? And out of a user perspective, of course, Fintechs has been quite okay, because we've been going from need to have to must have, which has been also as previous panelist has stated, driving our business. The other one is, so what do people invest in? And I think for FinTech, investment hasn't been down that much compared to the same period in 2019. It's been pretty similar, same deal flow, and people have been looking at this, and we've benefited from this as well. We had one conversation ongoing with MasterCard, and we actually wrapped that up in the midst of this crisis, and that made me. Thank you, thank you. That made, but the takeout from that was not only the ability that the funding enabled us to do and to invest in further and to expand our ability to help every bank to calculate the carbon impact of their users' spending, which is our as a service offering, enterprise offering. But also it was a signal that it will be okay, you know. The sign of normal, and in all this mayhem, working, this becomes more on an individual level. MasterCard, big company, you know, well managed and one of the most reputable brands in our space. So that's all good. But apart from that, also working with many of the leading banks in regard of enabling everyday climate action across the globe and MasterCard in connection made us feel hopeful. You know, we're all in this together. Data has been extremely high on the agenda as a substantiator in regard of what is the truth. And as we are working with data, but in regard of climate action rather than COVID action, we could see that transfer with clarity, that people wanted to know more. The urge for transparency in financial services went up, not only because it's financial services, but because people wanted transparency to begin with. So you can look at the leading universities in regarding of data reporting on the pandemic, and you could transfer that interest into personal finance. And here most of the fintech community are. And that's why I think we've been coming out, not that it's over, but so far the fintech community has been not as heavily hit as it could have been.
Thank you, Matthias. Looking forward, taking the opportunity of this situation and see how the business can thrive and go forward. Malik, Hassan, how do you see your company going forward?
I think it's a superb opportunity time for us as well as everybody else, regardless of where you are in the overall fintech ecosystem. If you're a component provider and you specialize on that thing, huge opportunity. If you are an enabling platform, huge opportunity. Why? Because businesses have absolutely no time to ponder over things. The time has come now where they need to aggregate services, connect to the market, participate in the ecosystem. And this is really the time where people to sit together, come together, do loads of collaboration for quick and fast results. And that's exactly what we're seeing happening for us. That's what I propose to everybody else. Absolute quick decisions, quick execution, work as an ecosystem, pull your strengths together, go to market faster.
Super. Thank you, Hassan. Espen, how do you see the next 6 months evolving on your side?
I agree very much with Hassan actually on this one. I think so. What we're starting to look at is actually what we call kind of a post-pandemic operating model, because I think being in the pandemic, you know, in the midst of it, that was kind of one operating model that we needed to have, very similar to what Hassan describes here. So I think what we're starting to look at is how we kind of, you know, establish a hybrid model where, you know, we do need to, you know, take some of the kind of capabilities back that we had before. We're looking into having more kind of physical engagement with our clients again. I mean, I haven't been on a plane for the last 6 months, so which is you know, extraordinary. We need to do that. So we need to kind of establish a hybrid operating model for our business, I think, going forward. And how that, you know, should look, I actually don't know yet. I think that's one of the challenges we have, is trying to find out how we can do that. That's not an easy task. I mean, I think, you know, I've really been, you know, so amazed by the way, you know, everyone has come together and transitioned into kind of a virtual operating model for across their businesses. That's been remarkable, I think. And I think it is difficult now to establish kind of a hybrid model, because regions are different, companies are different, different size and stuff like that. So that'll definitely be one of our challenges, to establish that hybrid model after the pandemic.
Yeah, and then you're looking at the cross-border market. How do you see this evolving for you, Espen?
Well, for us, the world has become smaller, which is a good thing. I think we've been able to, for example, very concretely onboard a big insurance company in France without ever meeting them. So, and for those of you who know enterprise, software, I know that is once in a lifetime maybe, and that's throughout the sales process and the delivery process and going live. So we'll see that continue, I think, to some extent, but we will also see that we need to be, we'd again need to kind of establish relations in another way. We're not, I think, there where it can be only virtual, obviously. So, but the world has become smaller for us, definitely. So we are kind of serving a larger part of the world without leaving Copenhagen, which is nice sometimes and challenging other times.
Thank you, Espen. Ornit, what we see, we are in contact with quite a few investors throughout the world, and like you, they topped up their current portfolio, and some also moved during it. But we have an expectations with the discussions we had with some of the investors that the money is there, of course, and the fall will probably be a steep hill with a lot of new investments. What's your take on the fall and going forward with the investment in fintech companies throughout the world from your point?
So we've been seeing people being quite active, and I think what we've mainly noticed is that the larger companies with, I'd say, reputable brands already, the startups that are already with good market traction and revenue, they're raising money easily, and it's not a problem at all. The rounds are just as competitive as they were before. I'm very happy to see that there's actually an increase in very early stage rounds with people saying, you know what, new opportunities, new world order, I want to say.
Yeah.
And, they're looking at it, and there's more action going on over there.
Yeah.
I think the valuations are not always very clear. Sometimes they're pre-COVID valuations. Sometimes they're very aggressively post-COVID valuations. So there's still a lot to be seen on what will happen in that area. But the research that we've been following shows that 2020 is poised to finish at the same rate as 2019, which was a very strong year. So I think all in all, we're quite optimistic that fintech's going to do well. And within fintech, some areas are going to do a lot better than others. If you look at the data, 1/3 of all investments to date in 2020 have been in contactless payments, for instance, digital, contactless, etc. So some areas are going to do very well.
Yeah. You had a tour in the Nordic, I assume, prior to the pandemic, and I saw that you had some comparison between the Israeli and the Nordic. Any take on that you would like to share with us?
So I think Denmark is now enjoying/suffering from the Israel syndrome. And what do I mean by that? You guys are now a little island with no transportation and no distance, that nowhere you can go. And that's what we've always had, in the sense that we always knew that we were isolated. We couldn't just hop over to the next door country, and see what we'll do. And Denmark is now, because of COVID, in the exact same situation where everyone is remote and everyone is just a phone call away as well, right? So it's very easy to reach people. People are more available. It's easier to just, coordinate a video call than it is to coordinate an actual visit or an actual trip. I think from a cost structure, no need to travel means everything's a lot cheaper, and you can do a lot more for what you've raised. And all in all, this is not necessarily a bad thing. And if you look at previous crises, so 2001 was very clearly a startup crisis, right? So valuations were down, investments were gone, etc. This is not the case now. And I think there's a real opportunity for companies to show proof. And as one of the previous speakers mentioned, and really kudos on getting an insurance company or any large enterprise to sign a deal sight unseen. It's really very worthy. And I think there are many opportunities like that otherwise would have been unthinkable.
Fantastic, Arne, and thank you for those closing words. And thank you to Hassan Malik, Mathias Wikström, Espen Toftal Nielsen, and you, Arne, for this fantastic discussion around the transformations. And we're looking forward to the growth and the utilization of this transformation by you guys. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Dream Studio. Oh, we were just missing audio. Thank you all very much for a great panel, and welcome back to the FinTech and Dream Studio. I'm just here to talk you through what will come up in just about an hour and what we have going on next door in about half an hour. So at 11:35 we will kick off a great panel on sustainable innovation. It's a very hot topic at the moment. And we will perhaps shine a bit of a critical light on some of the otherwise very positive stories coming out of the Nordics and explore what actually lies behind the concept of sustainable innovation. I will be moderating. I will be joined in the studio by Klaus from Danske Bank, who works with their impact arm. Joining us online will be Stine from the UNDP and Amit from CO2 Hero. In half an hour, you cannot see this on the slides I have here, we will open the research track with a great session by TRYG, one of the many partners we have here in the lab, together with GoMore, a fascinating Nordic startup. Thank you very much, and until then, I hope you stay safe and enjoy the networking online.